Well, let's get to what's the buzz, and today it's about celebrating Black History Month. And joining us to talk about this are Kim Trent, a local writer and regent at Wayne State University, A.J. Williams, the city life and style editor from the Michigan Chronicle, and Tony Frost, local singer and entertainer. Thank you all so much for being with us. And A.J., welcome.
This
is the first time we've had you.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. So let's get first off to the general idea of Black History Month. So there are two teams, Team Black History Month and Team We Don't Need Black History Month. It's American History Month. What do you guys think about this?
I'm Team Black History Month. Okay. And the reason why, I do understand the perspective that American history and Black history goes hand in hand, and we should do more to incorporate that. However, currently the way society is right now, when we're struggling to have our voices heard and our history heard, we do need to have that month to dedicate it. We should move forward, but it needs to be dedicated so we can be heard. A lot of kids don't know our history, so we need to have the month to know that.
Now, I should say I have 2 degrees in African studies. So
break it down, Kim. Break it down for us.
I'm definitely team, but you know what? I'm team also. It definitely needs to be integrated into the history. And it's so needed, just as you just said, AJ. Representative Congressman Steve King from Iowa, just like in the last year said something like Western culture, which we all know means, you know, European culture, has contributed everything that matters in history, you know. And for a more than middle-aged man to really say that out loud, and for people to, and you know, this is somebody who has some degree of credibility.
Because he believes what he just said.
Right, and so so I mean, that just shows how there's that dearth of information that needs to get out there. And it's not just, I mean, the history of the world. The history of the world is not just Western history.
Right, yes. Right.
You know what, honestly, Tati, I think what makes it unfortunate that that's even a discussion is that I don't think it's taught how Black history affects everyone. You know what I mean? Those that aren't Black, because if they can't relate to it, then they're going to be like, oh, we don't need to hear about it, you know. And then unfortunately, it's starting to spill over into those who are actually African American as well.
So I think that leads perfectly into our next question of how do we begin to move forward? I think, you know what I mean? Because it's like what Tony said, if you can't relate to it or understand how it fits into your life from the stop sign to, you know what I mean? What do you guys think?
I think we're making.
No, that's just you talking.
I think we're making strides. We need to continue working at being one of the editors at a Black newspaper. I can see where we're being integrated, even from advertising, even from, like he said, knowing that Black history isn't just about slavery. It's about people that are affecting the way and the life that we live. However, until we as a society, it has to happen on a societal level first in order for us to incorporate it to get to a point where it's eliminated, although I don't think that should ever happen.
Well, when I was in college, which I'm about to date myself, but when I was in college in the early 90s, hip hop culture was very infused in, you know, you had KRS-One and Public Enemy and all these folks who really used it in the culture. And so, I mean, I hate to talk about Black Panther like everyone else has been doing, but like, let's not go there. Because
I was trying not to mention it.
It's like for the culture, you got to talk about. But seriously, I mean, even though obviously Wakanda is a fictional place, but you saw true African, like the language was Xhosa language, and I mean, there was such an integration of that. So I just think there are ways that maybe outside of the classroom we could still integrate our culture and history into just the American experience. It's always been part of the American experience, but I think that we as African Americans and others can just embrace the fact that what makes our nation so great is our diversity and that we have all these experiences.
And I think that also goes perfectly to my next question, which is there enough being done to teach it in schools? Because we had one person in our office say that their son wasn't learning anything, and Jason Carr chimed in and said, well, Gia was coming home and talking about this one and that one, and you know what I mean, and she's much younger, so.
Right.
I think it's varied in different counties, different schools. I know, being a product of DPS, and it was a predominantly African-American school, I didn't learn about African-American history until I got to college. And even at that point, it was a separate class. So until we start changing textbooks, actually putting it in print, making it a requirement that this is a part of our history and our roots, that we're never going to change the conversation.
And I just want to add to that, change textbooks in the right way.
Right,
Because
right,
we know that in certain parts of the country,
Right.
the changes are very inaccurate.
Yeah,
You can speak to this.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, because we saw in Texas where they slavery was described as something like indentured. I mean,
Not even indentured.
Yeah, it was
like
it was
better
like
than
something.
being
I can't
indentured.
remember. It was so
Yeah.
outrageous, but they,
Yeah.
you know, it's not anything new. But I just think it's so important for us to also not have Black history presented as just George Carver worked with peanuts and Martin Luther King had a dream. I mean, we need to talk about the 13th Amendment and talk about it. So it's not just anecdotal. It's not just this person did this and this person did that, but it's about how our experience informs the larger American experience.
Okay, now we've only got about a minute left, but I want to get each of your Black history heroes. Tony, I'll start with you.
I would say, first of all, it would be Martin Luther King, the ability to be able to create focus around Black culture for an entire nation, and also my dad, too.
All right. Kim?
I would really, I hate to just say one, but if I had to pick one African American, I would probably go with Harriet Tubman, because when I was watching those generals in Wakanda, that's who she was. She was a bad chick.
Yeah.
She was the original. I mean, she was a scout. She was I think people just are trite about her, but she was multi-layered and amazing.
Yes.
I'm gonna go a little bit more sentimental. I'm gonna go with my grandmother. My grandmother was, her parents were sharecroppers, so she wasn't afforded an education, but at the age of 50, she went back to school and got her degree, and she was actually the first person in our family to actually graduate from college. So her perseverance and her strength still is a very big light for me.
And now AJ is going to make me cry on her first time on What's the Buzz. Thank all of you so much for being here. We appreciate you.
Thanks.